My name is Maria Grazia Cucinotta, and I am an actress from Italy. I starred in Al Pacino, James Bond movies, and many other productions. I was lucky enough to be a judge at the Shanghai International Film Festival, and I have become fascinated by China. Now, I'm back to this amazing country to see with my own eyes how it is changing. But to discover its secrets, I need someone professional to guide me.
My name is Brian Linden. I'm from Chicago in the middle of the United States. I have now settled down in China's southwest province of Yunnan. I first came to this country in 1984, and now my life is inseparable from China. My good friend Maria Grazia asked me to be her guide in China. It's going to be a journey full of surprises and insights. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
We're starting our journey in Shanghai, my favorite place in China. A modern and dynamic city has attracted people from all over the world. I have been to Shanghai many times and was impressed by the changes in the city. Now, I hope Brian would take me to discover some old stories I didn't know.
Hello, Maria.
Nice to meet you.
Today.
Thank you for sending me all these beautiful photos. They're amazing.
These are all pictures from, 100 years ago in Shanghai.
It was crowded, yeah.
It was
Activity.
so crowded.
It was already huge.
Let me show you here.
Yeah.
So, do you recognize this scene?
Yes. So this building is that one.
Along the Bund here, you have about 50 heritage buildings.
Before this trip, I saw some videos of Shanghai. An American photographer, Isaac Upham, took videos about Shanghai 1 century ago. However, flourishing cities are only part of China at that time. Just as what he explained on the subtitles. Millions of Chinese are born, live, and die on junks. Now that I can see Shanghai is so different from those videos. The cities are different, and so is the state of mind of the people. What is that, changing China so much? I hope to find the answer on this trip.
I've been coming here for 37 years. All you see is China reinventing itself. And I believe this is one place where you see that constant evolution and the openness of China.
Yeah.
So you ready?
I'm ready.
The next day, I went to the streets with Brian. He told me that many buildings in those old photos have been preserved to date. He decided to take me to look for them.
Over there, let's see.
Is it that building there? Or?
I don't know. Let me see from the street because I can't see very well.
So what you're looking at is the old customs house.
Yeah.
Very, very famous with the clock on top and the old Shanghai Bank. The customs house was actually built by the British. Shanghai, Hong Kong, Qingdao, and a number of other trading ports were run by Western powers 100 years ago, and Shanghai was the most international of these ports. So this is your second test.
Okay.
And again, it's pretty easy.
Let me see. Here it is.
Exactly. The Peace Hotel right here. This is a little complicated
Yes,
if you look.
it is. I'm already lost.
But I think it's like right there.
The tree wasn't here.
No, that guy
On the
was...
foot of these buildings, I seem to be back to the Oriental Paris 100 years ago.
Let's go.
How do we...
I don't know, let's ask.
There, I see...
Though Nanjing Road is as busy as it was, the pedestrians have totally different states of mind compared with those 100 years ago. I become more curious about what makes the change.
You see this building? We made a mistake with the
Ah, you did a good job. Congratulations. These beautiful old buildings are just like exotic flowers blooming in China. And the country Maria and I are tracing in the photos is not the real China.
I'm so happy.
The real China is hiding behind these buildings, behind the shanty towns, behind pairs of eyes that thirst for changes of their fates. In order to improve China's poverty and backwardness, to allow those in the bottom to have more decent lives, a group of young people devoted themselves to finding a way out for China.
It's fascinating to discover what lies behind this busy city. But how does Brian know so much about it?
How old were you when you got here?
I was 22 years old.
Wow, so young.
During those early times when I was at Fudan University researching these young intellectuals, I was inspired by their story, inspired by their attempt to take something from the outside and apply it to the contemporary and to the problems that faced China at the time. I think to understand contemporary China, we have to understand those ideas of the young intellectuals. After living in China for many years, I have become aware of an important fact. It is the strength of the people that brings the greatest changes to this country. Those young intellectuals are among those people. They decided to unite and establish a party to change the country and the fate of their nationals. In 1921, in this house in Shanghai, a meeting was held, but soon interrupted by the police. The participants came to this lake over 100 kilometers from Shanghai to continue the meeting on a boat, away from prying eyes. It was those young men who founded the Communist Party of China. They boarded a boat similar to this boat, and they continued really the Communist Party's Congress agenda and finished it here in Jiaxing. The Communist Party took the ideals, intellectual ideals from the cities, from the intellectuals, and really adapted them to China's indigenous kind of situation.
It's incredible to think that something that changed the world all started just here.
In order to let Maria know China better, I decided to introduce her to somewhat interesting foreigners. They are very similar to me, having lived in China for extended periods and know this country very well. Most of the outside world did not know what was happening with the evolution of the party. I mean, this happened in 1921. It really wasn't until 1936 when an American writer, Edgar Snow, ventured up to northwest China, where he really told the story of the Communist Party to the outside world.
Brian surprises me with a gift.
This is a first edition of Edgar Snow's The Red Star Over China. So it was printed, published in 1938. There's an inscription here that was written on January 26, 1938, by the book's first owner. And it was written for his younger nephew to say, learn from some of the ideals of this book. Edgar Snow, an American journalist, came to China at a pivotal time in history. In the late 1930s, the world was in turmoil, with Europe heading towards war and Japan gearing up to invade China. The Red Army formed by the Communist Party of China had already moved to northern Shanxi and formed a political base. Snow was curious about this new movement and his book recorded what he saw and heard in the revolutionary base.
According to Edgar Snow, the locals were a little wary of the newcomers. First of all, he wrote, many people supposed the Reds to be a hard-bitten lot of outlaws and malcontents. I soon discovered that the great mass of the Red soldiery was made up of young peasants and workers who believed themselves to be fighting for their homes, their land, and their country. When reading those touching descriptions, I can't wait to ask Brian to take me to Ya'an, a place of dynamics and romance as told in the book. We arrive in Ya'an in the evening, after a short 3-hour flight from Shanghai. Snow visited here again in 1939 after his publication of The Red Star over China. But this isn't Brian's first time here.
It's amazing because 35 years ago,
35 years ago.
on the same road.
Prefer Yan'an now, or you still prefer Yan'an of 35 years ago?
Look at the kindergartens we see, the parks.
Yes, the
None of
parks.
that existed 35 years ago. I prefer the Yan'an that has brought the most joy and happiness to the people. And I believe that this Yan'an
You see
is
people
far more
happier?
comfortable and far happier than they were 35 years ago, and I'm sure 85 years ago when Edgar Snow came here.
The next morning, we head out to find traces from the time of Edgar Snow's visit.
While it took us just a few hours to get here, it took the communists in the mid-1930s much longer. The communists, along with Sid's military, traveled a distance of up to 12,500 kilometers on foot, a journey that became known as the Long March. But what they found was very different from the lush, fertile South and the big cities of the East.
This is what Edgar Snow wrote about his 1936 visit here. Though we saw fields and cultivated land everywhere, we seldom saw houses. Men lived in homes dug out of hard, fudge-colored cliffs, yaodang, or cave houses, as the Chinese call them.
Wow, Maria, look at these two. Just imagine, after years of oppression in southern China, the Red Army decides to leave that area and come to a barren land like this where the people live in caves.
Nothing.
I mean, look at it all over.
Amazing, eh?
When I look out here, I can really feel how hard it was. Just think, 80 years ago. Nowadays, the caves are mostly used for storage and as animal pens. The Red Army lived in these caves alongside the local farmers, sharing their tough lives.
We're heading down to find out just what these barren hills would have provided. This is what Snow wrote. I accepted this invitation to a first meal. In an hour, a vast platter of scrambled eggs arrived, accompanied by steamed rolls, boiled millet, some cabbage, and a little roast pork.
You can take these to go. Put them in your pockets. So Maria, these are some of the local agricultural products. You have also had tens of thousands of young people coming from all over China to this area to participate in kind of what was happening you know, with the Communist Party and the evolution here. So what they did is they worked with the locals to increase the agricultural yield.
That's nice, you know, because I'm sure that they really help them to improve themselves, you know, their products. And you know, when you arrive here, you can see that the area is an area that doesn't offer too much. So to come here, to choose to stay in this place, to help those people, and you know, to grow their ideals, but to grow even the production, you know, their way of living is nice. It's not bad.
It's not bad at all, definitely. It's very good.
By sharing their food, I'm beginning to feel closer to the communists of 1930s. But I'm not yet getting a true feeling of who these people actually were.
The area around Yan'an is filled with locations that reflect the early days of the Chinese Communist Party. In fact, the local mayor has claimed there are as many as 445 revolutionary sites here. This is not surprising since Yan'an was the headquarters for the party for over a dozen years.
Some of the sites can be quite moving, such as this one in a square by an old city gate.
Incredible, all these people. Where are they coming from?
These are young people who came from all over China. Young intellectuals, artists, writers, painters, musicians. And they came here, they were attracted by these socialist ideals here in Yan'an. They wanted to participate in the war against the Japanese. Staring at these sculptures, we can imagine what those early followers looked like decades ago. Their states of mind and their fate were all reshaped by dreams and faith.
Wow, those two are
Foreigners, huh?
Yeah.
老外，两个老外。
Edgar Snow.
I think it's Edgar Snow, yeah.
Yes. And I like the idea that there is a woman leading the group. We're still fighting for gender
Good.
equality. Give me 5. I love that. This
Get
is
a
good.
picture.
Yeah.
Cool.
Edgar mentioned in his book that he felt in the people he met and interviewed a kind of special spirit which could be felt easily, as he said, just by a faithful record without any processing. He interviewed civilians, soldiers, writers, artists, and military officers, including Mao Zedong. He spent time with Mao in Yan'an's Bawan County in those days.
Chairman Mao lived here from 1938 to 1943 in this cave. As you can see, it's quite popular.
Of course, and,
So let's go check out one of his rooms. So here we are, Chairman Mao's cave. This is where he lived. Chairman Mao was very prolific. He wrote some very important studies, and I think here you can see some examples of those. He loved to read, and over here was his bookcase. And here you see examples of some of China's most important and most famous early novels. Mao read his favorite books here, and he also encouraged his followers to pursue education. The Red Army even founded a university of its own in the caves. Mao was definitely a voracious reader, and you can see how it impacted his ideas.
Edgar Snow, he interviewed now in Yan'an's Bawan County. He wrote, "One felt that whatever there was extraordinary in this man grew out of the uncanny degree to which he synthesized and expressed the urgent demands of millions of Chinese, and especially the peasantry."
In due course, larger buildings appeared on the site. This is the auditorium, the hall where the Communist Party held its events. So here we are, Maria. This is the place you saw in the photo. This is a site, the Seventh Party Congress. You can see the picture of Chairman Mao and Zhu De, the red banner up there. In 1986, I came with my wife-to-be, and we came here, and I think we took the photo somewhere.
It's exactly the same.
Right
Hasn't
about
changed
here,
at all.
the red banner up
You
there.
are so young.
In many ways, we fell in love while we were falling in love with China. And ever since then, China has really been the foundation of our relationship.
And it's very touching, beautiful. Thank you for sharing this with me.
Brian has one last stop before we leave Yi'an, a place he says should help me understand those ideals that brought the Communist Party to this part of China.
So we are here. This is where Chairman Mao, in 1944, first coined the term, serve the people. And it was at the funeral of this young soldier, Zhang Side, we see up in front. Zhang Side had served the people throughout his life. And Chairman Mao said his death was weightier than Mount Tai. The essence of serve the people had been reflected ever since the foundation of the CPC and was described in Red Star over China. With this belief as their foundation, the CPC won the support from the people and succeeded in the anti-Japanese war and the ensuing War of Liberation. Chairman Mao declared the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, when this country came into being with its people as its owner and master.
You know, to serve the people is what all governments say when they are elected. How is CPC different?
I think since 1944, of the CPC adopted this idea, serve the people, as a core principle. And as we go deeper into the countryside, I think you'll be able to discover how the party is still improving people's lives.
To show me how the ideal of serving the people is being carried out, Brian has brought me to the desert in northern China.
This is Ningxia province, not only one of the smallest of China's provinces. Most areas here are dry, windy, and sandy year-round. Land desertification is a serious problem. Okay. It's a traditional game called jianzi, and it is played all over China.
Brian says our guide to Ningxia will join us soon. Meanwhile, we have some local fun.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
An American friend who has lived in Ningxia for many years knows this area better than I do. I'm going to introduce her to Maria. Oh yes, Melissa. Hey.
Ciao.
Hi, Melissa. I'd like to introduce you to my good friend from Italy, Maria.
Ciao. Nice to meet you.
Very nice.
Well, how far is it? How long do we have to drive?
Well, about 5 to 6 hours.
We better go.
You have to work out.
Melissa Smith is now an English teacher at a university in Yinchuan, the capital of Ningxia. In 1991, when she was a graduate student at the University of Illinois, she came to China and fell in love with it. After graduation, she temporarily stayed in many places in China, but finally chose Ningxia as her home.
I really have seen huge changes here. The first year here was 1993, which was, is that 30 years ago? Almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
So you
It was
can
nothing.
you can imagine. Well, yeah, I have some photos I can show you. A lot of this area was desert. You know, when I first came here, it all looked a lot like that.
Wow.
Just
Look right, look
desert.
without
Wow. And then that's the main street through the biggest city in the southern part of Ningxia. That's Guyuan City, and that was the main street in 1993.
Wow.
And if you went there now, it's city. It's all
It's the
city
city.
right there.
One of the changes in Ningxia is evident all around us. Villagers from the poorest southern regions have been relocated to new towns like this one, with modern infrastructure and living facilities. It's done in cooperation with a richer province in southeastern China, Fujian. It's a successful national model of poverty alleviation.
People don't know about Ningxia. They're not as willing to come here, so I have a lot more opportunities to use my education background in order to join in the building of this place.
Melissa has lived in China for more than 30 years and almost regards herself as a Chinese. As a teacher, Melissa supports these projects like all the Chinese people. Education is the key of poverty alleviation, so she donated school materials and sent them to relatively remote schools on a regular basis.
Here it is, huh?
Oh, look, Esther's here waiting for us.
We've arrived during playtime.
Nice to meet you, Esther.
Maria and Brian.
Brian. English is so good.
Thank you.
Buongiorno.
Great, that was really fun.
Melissa and Maria are in their element. In no time, Maria is organizing an Italian game.
Giro, giro, tondo. We say giro, giro, tondo.
Giro, giro, tondo.
Quanto è bello il mondo.
Quanto è bello il mondo.
Gira la terra.
Gira la terra.
Gira tutto intorno.
Gira tutto attorno.
Gira, gira, gira. Tutti giù per terra.
And then it's my turn to learn a Chinese game. After the games, we have to remember we came to help with study, not just to play.
Part of China's relocation plan for poor villagers in Ningxia has been to build many new schools, including this one in Xiangtong Village. Chinese schooling is a bit more formal than we are used to in the West.
So now we introduce ourselves properly to the children.
但今天呢，我们有几位老师？4位。那你们还记不记得我们呀？记得。我是谁？哦，马老师。这位老师呢？
你没记得我了，伤心伤心啊！
林老师。
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 It's Brian too.
Brian 老师，对。
Brian 老师，林老师。
林老师。
这位老师呢？
要不要写？我是这个林，对不对？
是吗？
可以吗？你认识吗？好。
好。
幸会幸会。
以后我们就记住林老师了，好吗？
好。
这位老师呢？
马老师。
哦，马老师。
哇
哦。太好了，你知道他的全名是什么？玛利亚。哦，玛利亚老师。
玛利亚。
那接下来老师要问大家一个问题：你们喜欢读书吗？喜欢。太棒了。
And then it's time for the books.
This is for you. This is for you.
The book Melissa has chosen encourages the children to find the best in themselves.
This is to you. This is for you.
哦，有一点难过。好。
Education is crucial to the elimination of poverty. Making education available to every child has been a policy since the days of Chairman Mao. Currently, China's compulsory education system is widespread, but to get these village children to read is still a priority.
小爱的想法是什么？帮助别人。
But it's not all about learning from books. The exercise helps them to be positive towards each other as well.
小爱最后，小爱觉得最大的优点是什么？帮助现在谁的优点是帮助别人？谁的优点是帮助别人？
爱别人，去爱别人，帮助别人，爱别人，
好不好？好。
The changes here can be easily seen. Most of the residents in mountain areas have been relocated to new towns, and their villages are getting better. I did not expect to find so many houses in Shandong that are new with access to water and electricity.
In the elementary school we just visited, I met an adorable little girl named Tiansha.
She now has 8 people here.
I liked her so much. She invites us all to visit her house and meet her mother.
High school, the next in middle school.
Wow!
Hello.
你的房子很漂亮哦。哎，你好。我是林登新会。
Thought I was going to visit some place very poor, you know, and instead I'm surprised.
我刚来的时候，那时候贫穷，现在好多了。
So it was very difficult at the beginning.
对，刚来的时候特别难。那时候要是走街上的话都没有车，直接就是那种3轮车。3轮车是土路，你看现在这个路，它也是那种硬化路啊，房子也全都盖的新房子，扶贫政策真的相当的好，对老百姓来说。
Tiansha's home is totally different from what I have imagined, and from the houses of Shihaigu in the old pictures that Melissa showed me as well. People here are simple and optimistic, and lived in good conditions. I am so curious about what their lives were when they first came here.
A lot of more they were living in often rammed earth buildings. Those houses could only last, 10, 20 years before they would start to crack and crumble. This house will last,
forever.
Forever.
It's a real house.
And it's 5 years old, but look at how comfortable it still is. I mean, it's still, and they are taking such good care of it, and you can sense the pride.
Yes,
in they're
you
doing
can,
it.
and that just makes life so much easier when you have a comfortable home to come home to from school or from work or from the very hard work that she does.
Yes. Today, poverty is still a major global challenge. However, as one of the world's most populous countries, China has addressed the problem effectively. It's truly a miracle.
My trip in Ningxia will end very soon. Here I often hear a word, happiness. I can feel that their days are not what they used to be. At the same time, they are constantly improving their living environment. In Shihaigu, there are a large group of people like Tiansha's mom. Because of the support and leadership of the Chinese government, they are full of confidence in the days ahead. I feel I have to do something to make this trip rewarding.
Today is March 12th, the Arbor Day of China. We decide to each plant a tree on the hillside.
I believe that people here will be happier in the future, just as these small trees will slowly grow into big ones. I am curious what better life looks like in the perspectives of Chinese.
Our next destination is Hangzhou, a water city in the Yangtze Delta, capital of China in medieval time, and a large city even by present standards of this country. But we're not here for the impressive modern architecture. I bring Maria to one of the city's most scenic spots, the West Lake. There are a lot of beautiful tales that happened here. It's no exaggeration to say that the West Lake is an important symbol of Chinese culture. But what do the Chinese believe is the better life? I think I have to understand traditional Chinese culture first.
我今天带来中国山水画最伟大的一个作品《富春山居图》。
Wow.
Wow.
It's incredible. This painting is around 670 years old.
这幅画的作者是元朝的一个画家，叫黄公望。Yes. 他就在富春江两岸不断地观察、写生，然后到第10个年头，他才可以把他心目当中那么多美好的风景，组合在这一个将近8米长的一个长卷上面。富春山就是我们老家富春山水，居就是我们人要生活的居住的地方。也就是说，我们人就生活在这一片美好的山水当中。
Wow. It's really a movie, you know? It's one of the first movies. Yes, of course, I'm curious.
也就是说，670年前黄公望看到的山水，我们今天还可以看得到。
Yes, you can see here there is the trees, the water, the mountains, the animals, and the people. This is the ideal lifestyle, and this is what we should be aspiring to now in the modern days.
Wow. It's like walking through that painting that we just saw.
Yeah, so much of this landscape still exists here in Hangzhou.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very special. And I think that what we're seeing now is this focus on the environment. There's this idea, this concept in Chinese philosophy, the unity of all things. It's inseparable.
Yes.
Mankind and nature. Lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. It is a development concept that is vigorously promoted in China today. It is not only to guarantee adequate food for the Chinese people, but also to offer them a sound living environment, though it is not something that is easily achieved. We are lucky to have Catherine with us on this journey. Catherine is majoring in environmental engineering at Nanjing University, and she has paid attention to ecological protection in China for quite a long time. Come on down.
Long time no see.
Catherine, I want to introduce you to my friend Maria. And I told her you are going to introduce us to a plant, to something that she knows very well, but has never seen growing in the wild.
Really? Never.
Catherine told me that she came to China because it has many environmental challenges, but it is also making great efforts to face up to them.
First, Catherine takes us to a tea garden by the Qiantang River in Hangzhou. As the home of tea, China has developed tea culture and passed it down for thousands of years. The relationship between people and tea mirrors the tie between the Chinese people and nature.
There's 2 leaves, and then there's this one central thing, like the central piece that we're looking for. So the thing should be in this kind of a shape. And we use our thumb and our finger like this and kind of twist and break it off.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's look and see if we can find any of those. This okay? Yeah, that's beautiful.
Wow.
Catherine said that tea can precisely reflect the ecological situation of a region.
It's like a pretty ecologically sensitive plant, so it needs really good, high-quality soil, high-quality water, like really pure, clean water, and really nice air quality. So if the environment is polluted, say goodbye to your tea plants. If you see a place like this where there's all these really healthy, robust tea bushes all along the mountainside, you know that's a place with a healthy ecology.
Of course, picking the tea is just the first step of the process. It needs to be treated as well.
So we're gonna put all the tea leaves in the wok, and then I'll show you guys how to roast it. Okay, let me tell you
For
guys
the
how
finest
it's done.
teas, everything is done by hand over heat.
This is the first time I learned to make tea. I'm very happy to acquire a new skill.
Do you want to try sitting
Yes.
here? We actually have to do even more after this. Could take several hours, around 4 hours maybe for 500 grams.
4 hours?
If you leave any water in the leaves, it won't have that really fragrant flavor to it. The leaves that failed inspection get thrown back in and they have to get roasted again.
This kind of fine tea production is completely dependent on a healthy ecology.
It is very important to bring the green back to the city, to see the green area.
Yeah.
Before it was economic changes, and that's natural for any country to want to build the economic foundation for as many people as possible. Now China is making those adjustments to quality of life. We're seeing a country make a transformation more quickly than any country in the past.
Yes.
There's an idea of coming back to nature and working within nature and not separate from it. And I think that today we are able to see that.
This is Shishi National Wetland Park in Hangzhou, not far from the place where we picked tea leaves. Catherine said it was formerly a wasteland with heavy pollution. However, environmental governance has turned it into a masterpiece of modern, urban, green space in China.
I think it's so important.
I think this country has also experienced that firsthand, going through such an intense kind of industrial revolution in a sense. And the whole world's impression of China was pollution and destruction. And it's done so much to restore and improve the environment. I mean, they realized you can't have this polluted earth and expect humans to live happy and prosperous lives.
You know, this result is hope for everybody, you know, because we're really hoping that this will happen all over the world and not just here.
Yes.
Because the entire world needs to give back to the nature what belongs to the nature.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Wow.
To have a better view, we ride a hot air balloon. From up here, we can see people's residence surrounded by the wetland. A perfect mix of city life and nature.
The other one, you have to respect more this one because this one is life.
I feel optimistic because I've seen how much China has changed for the better over the last 100 years, and why.
The most tremendous changes in China are not the modern skyscrapers, but a change in the people's mindset. China's people are finding strength in China's millennial-old culture. Many foreigners have the same feelings as I did when I experienced the warmth and inclusiveness of China's culture. Because in 1983, I applied for a scholarship to come to China to study. And I did it for many reasons, but one important reason was that I really felt lost in America. I came to China and I found myself. I found my home.
I can understand because I feel in the same way. I felt that, the first time when I came here, I felt that, this was the place where everything can be possible. And if you have a dream, that dream can come true because here the people are so open.
China's future is more and more interconnected with the rest of the world. Chinese culture plays a significant role behind all the connections. For our following journey, Brian is going to take me to a further reach of Chinese culture and experience its charm in a close distance.
走过了一段漫长的路，远去了最初纷乱的迷雾。是谁依然燃起火烛，照亮这场不平凡的征途？ 多少人奋进筚路蓝缕，才换来如愿盛世